What's going on, Ravens fans? Welcome into the show. My name is Joey Petersen, and with the NFL Combine officially underway tomorrow, it feels like we are already fully into the 2026 NFL offseason. We got the new league year starting in just a couple of weeks. So on today's show, we got a major trade report from Adam Schefter, who believes over the next couple of weeks after this Combine starts, there could be an uptick in some moves across the NFL. Appreciate you guys for spending your Mondays with us. Make sure, if you have not yet, to subscribe to the channel. We've been battling Steelers talk all February long, and we are down only 15 subs. Okay, I think when we last checked on Thursday or Wednesday, we were down like 80, something like that. Let's bridge this gap. Let's take the lead today. I need your help. Subscribe for daily Ravens videos. So Adam Schefter believes that there will be an uptick across the National Football League in trades this offseason. So I think the question that ensues off of that is, will Baltimore be a team that is involved in any of these trades? Schefter basically said teams across the NFL consider the NFL draft and free agency to be subpar this offseason, which means that if they need to acquire talent, if they need to add players to a team, if they need to bridge a gap from a contending team to a Super Bowl winning team, that they're going to do that via trades because free agency in the NFL draft might not be as good as it usually has been. A little bit more from Adam Schefter. We got a free agent class. That's not deep. We got a draft class. That's not considered real deep. You know what that tells me? It tells me that we may get more wheeling and dealing and trades than we've had in other years. It seems to be a trend in recent years that teams are unafraid to make a big deal. And Baltimore isn't one of those teams that I would say has made a big deal over the last couple of seasons, despite the trade for Roquan Smith. But they have been a team that's consistently dealt in trades, right? I don't say that they're a trade-happy team, a trade-happy franchise, but I wouldn't say they're scared to go out there and make a trade either. Some of the recent ones that come to memory: Marquise Brown to the Cardinals, Roquan Smith, obviously, from the Bears, Morgan Moses to the Jets, Dionatae Johnson at the deadline, Tre White at the deadline, Oweh out of nowhere in October to the Chargers for Louis Gilman. You traded Jaire Alexander at the beginning of November to the Eagles, and then trade deadline time, you traded for Dre'Mont Jones from the Tennessee Titans. So the interesting part of this is, you talk about trades as an avenue to add talent to a roster. Free agency also is there as well. And what we know about Eric DeCosta is he doesn't really like free agency, right? We know that even though they've made a couple of signings recently, DeAndre Hopkins, Chidobe Awuzie, obviously Derrick Henry in the summer of 2024, we know that typically the Baltimore Ravens are not a team that uses free agency a ton. And the general manager will tell you that himself. In fact, he just did it on Aaron Donald's podcast. He said, I don't get involved with free agency much, so I'm not going to spend as much time talking about that. We don't spend a lot of money in free agency. We've never been a free agency team. We are a draft and develop team. Now, no matter what you feel about that, we know that this roster has holes in it, right? So if they're not going to use free agency to fill those holes, then maybe they do end up using something along, the avenue of a trade. That's kind of me saying that I would not be surprised if Baltimore made a singular trade this offseason. Right now, I don't expect them, really, if I were a betting man, would not bet on them going out and making an absolute blockbuster, jaw-dropper type trade. But if what Adam Schefter is right in saying that people look at this free agency class as weak, and Baltimore rarely uses free agency in general, they look at this draft class as weak. We know Baltimore's big on the draft, but they've got a lot of holes on that roster. They feel like they might be even, a year away from being able to hoist a Lombardi trophy, then they are going to be willing to make trades. I truly, truly believe that. Will the Ravens make a trade this offseason? You let me know what you think. Give me a yes or a no down below in the comment section. Weigh in with your answer and light up those comments, okay? I've got two trade tiers. I've got blockbusters and I've got needle movers, okay? When I think about the blockbuster trade targets, Max Crosby, A.J. Brown, Trent McDuffie are three that comes to mind. I don't believe Trent McDuffie is going to be a guy that Baltimore ends up trading for just because he still owed so much as a cornerback. And they've got their own, corners being paid a little bit too much problem on their hands already. But Max Crosby and A.J. Brown are two guys that we've discussed ad nauseam. Max Crosby is a game changer, a season-changing edge rusher from Las Vegas. I believe he fits with Baltimore. I believe he fits the aura of the Baltimore Ravens. He fits the style of Anthony Weaver, of Jesse Minter. I think he can bring something totally different than what we've been getting at that position over the last half decade or so. It'd be costly, but I do believe that it would be worth it. For A.J. Brown, I think that's an interesting one that's been kicked around decently. We know that he wouldn't mind getting out of Philadelphia. Philadelphia would not mind getting out of the A.J. Brown business as well. He is a little bit older, but what I would love about A.J. Brown is he would give Lamar Jackson something Lamar Jackson really hasn't had a ton in his career. That's a big target, kind of contested catch wide receiver out there on the outside that can then make some big things happen with the ball once he's got it in his hands. So those are the blockbuster guys. Guys, especially with Max and AJ, we talked about a lot. Now, there are some needle movers as well that I think would make a lot of sense that would be really good additions to this team. I think Courtland Sutton could be one of those guys. Obviously, you hired Kerry Colbert, his former wide receivers coach with the Denver Broncos, to be your wide receiver coach this year. I think that Denver would be, looking in the market to see if they can get out of that contract. Courtland Sutton's a guy that I could see possibly Baltimore be willing to trade for. I think these bottom two on this list are a little bit more likely with Javon Hargrave and Daron Payne, both defensive tackles. Hargrave with Minnesota, Payne with Washington. I think of all the 6 guys on this list, if I had to choose one for Baltimore to most likely make a trade for, I'd probably choose Javon Hargrave out of Minnesota just because, he's a savvy veteran. He wouldn't cost too much, so you don't take away a ton of the draft capital that Baltimore loves keeping. Eric DeCosta loves just stacking up picks, and I believe that he's a guy that they could feel is plug and play on the inside of this defense. Name a player you want the Ravens to trade for down below in the comment section. But that's the thing about an uptick in trades. It doesn't just mean your team's going to be trading for somebody. In Baltimore's case, I think it could mean there are some players that are on the trading block as well. So that is what is coming up next. Because what about the players that could be getting traded away? That is going to be our discussion. But real quick, we do have to give a shout out to our awesome sponsor, our friends over at Ethos. And as you know, my wife Kennedy and I got married almost 2 years ago. I imagine we'll buy a house and start having kids maybe sometime soon. If something were to happen to me, the last thing I want the people I love to worry about is being able to pay the bills. So I trust Ethos to keep them protected. After watching someone close to me go through loss, I saw how quickly grief can turn into financial stress. That experience changed how I think about protecting my family. Life insurance isn't about expecting the worst, but it's about making sure the people you love are supported no matter what. That's why I recommend life insurance through Ethos. You can get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. Ethos is 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Help protect your family with life insurance through Ethos. Get your instant free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times and rates may vary. So there are 5 Baltimore Ravens that I truly feel like they could be on the chopping block, could be on the way out. And we're going to start with Marlon Humphrey. We know that Baltimore would save a ton of money if they ended up trading away Marlon Humphrey. And he's still at that point in his career where teams could look at him and say, that's an asset. That is a usable player. That is a guy who could come in here and still make a difference on this team. You could save a little bit of money. A team that might believe they're a cornerback away from contending for a Super Bowl might be able to get their guy. I think Rashad Bateman might be the most realistic on this list just in general. Obviously, you signed for the extension last offseason. Probably looks like a little bit of a mistake if you're looking at it with 2020 hindsight because he wasn't very good this last year. But he's still young. Still looked at as a former first-round pick, and everybody needs wide receiver help across the National Football League. Roquan Smith. I think that this was a guy you maybe could have been able to trade away at the deadline. Heck, you might even be able to trade him at this next November deadline. 9 months from now. I get it; it's far and a long way away. Um, the linebacker position, the importance of it has gone down a touch over the last couple of years in the National Football League. But Roquan's just getting paid a lot of money, and I don't know how consistent he's been as a defender. Obviously, we know that the struggles and effort, and he just had a very volatile 2025 year. Looking to bounce back big in 2026, but look for him to be on the trade block. Broderick Washington makes sense from a money standpoint. He's a guy that a lot of people could look at as a depth rotational piece at the defensive tackle spot that could be good for those teams. And then Mark Andrews, very easy to get out of his money. I get it. You just extended him, just extended his contract. I don't think he does get traded from Baltimore, but I do believe it's worth discussing just because of that money and the way they structured it. It's easy to trade him away and do all that kind of stuff. And if teams are looking for a veteran tight end, he could be that option, and then you can trade it away and just re-sign or extend Isaiah Likely. That's going to do it for today's show. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Follow me on socials, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.